Okay. Okay, so I screwed up and accidentally stopped the stream. Let me make a note to all the people watching on YouTube. I think we should be getting it on Rumble now. I may have broken Rumble. So let me see if anybody moved over. Okay, got you guys here. I'm not sure if I'm still on Rumble. And that should do the trick. So again, I don't know if we're live on Rumble or not. I may have broken Rumble, but if you're still watching on YouTube, nope, we're good on Rumble. Excellent. Okay. Oh, way to drop the ball, fat boy. I hit the wrong button. I got all these damn buttons. I don't know if you know. I can't hold it up high enough. The cord's not long enough. Got all these damn buttons, and I just hit the wrong one. Sorry about that. So, good morning. I hope you got your cup of coffee. It is a beautiful morning. We're doing a little something special at our house that I'm going to talk about for just a second before we dive into the story about the Fulton County judge giving only a $500 fine and no jail time to a pair of convicted arsonists. But we've been doing a special thing at my house. The wife and the kids made their own advent calendar. Well, the wife, Fee, helped the kids make their own advent calendars. And each of the kids gets in their advent calendar randomly, and they don't know what day it's going to be. Fee picked them out and then just told me to put them on the calendar. Each of the kids gets just a day with daddy and a shopping day with mommy. And so the shopping day with mommy, hey, where do you want to go? Well, this is where I want to go. They go shopping. And so far, Penelope and Eleanor have had their shopping day. And then the day with daddy is, okay, what do you want to do today? And, within reason, there's a hell of a lot we can do without spending too much money. And so with Michael, my boy, my 8-year-old, we had ours on this past Sunday, and he wanted to do a zombie apocalypse escape room and go get the biggest cheeseburger in Georgia. And the day didn't go quite according to plan. We did go do a zombie apocalypse escape room, and we had a ball, and got a great picture and all that good stuff. And then we had less success with the biggest cheeseburger. So there used to be this place, and I guess they closed down. I was going to take him for. They do these cheeseburgers that are like they're the size of a large pizza, right? And you cut it like a pizza, and that would have, I'd have gotten the shot of his eyes bugging out when they set that burger down in front of him. That would have been awesome. But I don't know where those guys are. And so then we went to this place called the 10 Plate near us. Turns out they're not open for lunch, no matter what the website tells you. They're lying. So then we went, we stopped in the square in Covington, in Old Town Covington, because I figured, okay, I know the Mystic Grill has this burger called the Clock Tower that's a real monstrosity. And it's a little, they're a little on the expensive side, but the Mystic Grill is not bad. I've eaten there a few times. If I'm being honest, they're too expensive for what they are. But of course, we get there and it's an hour and a half wait time for lunch because there's a flippin' Vampire Diaries convention going on in Covington. Okay, so we pissed off and found a burger at the Amici down the street. But we still had a great time. Today is Penelope's day, and she wants to go to Fernbank and then do an all-you-can-eat Korean barbecue, which is, frankly, one of my favorite things to do, so I'm super jazzed about that. And so we're doing this for, all 4 kids they go shopping with mommy, and they get to go and just have a day of, we're just going to do some fun stuff with daddy. And it's awesome. And conveniently, this is my slow season because, people just don't buy and sell quite as many houses during the holidays as normal. So, I'm still out there shooting photography and making marketing materials and stuff, just not in nearly the, average of 5, 6, 7 a day at 200 to 300 miles a day of driving that I usually do in the summertime. So that's kind of where we are. We're having a good time, and I'm looking forward to going to Fernbank and a Korean buffet today because, well, fuck yeah. So here's the story I want to talk about. And there's actually a couple of stories that are kind of, you guys know how I do. It's never one story. We're trying to get our heads around the zeitgeist and the way that meme magic, for one, the way that systems interplay with each other, and how several different stories that could ostensibly be disconnected are actually related to one another in an attempt to actively and effectively analyze and critique the current political machine, the current social paradigm, and examine how we can extract actionable intelligence from these otherwise apparently diasporic cognitive faculties. So the story I want to start with is Fulton County judge gives $500 fine, no jail time, for rioters who burned down Atlanta Wendy's during BLM riots. So we keep hearing about the J6 riots, and I've got some news stories that are going to relate to this, related to that right now too. We keep hearing about the J6ers, and guys, it's been almost 3 years since the January 6th event happened. And to be very clear, there are still a few hundred people who are just sitting in jail who have not yet had a hearing. Now that right there is unconstitutional on the face of it. There are others like Owen Schroyer, who he's been sentenced to, I forget what his exact sentence was. It was like 18 months or something. I could be wrong. It may have been longer than that, but he's been sentenced to spend time in jail. He was in D.C. He just happens to be a popular personality. He just happens to be a popular personality on the right. And I'm not a huge fan. He's okay. But Pitt Danny says Owen is getting early release. Yeah, but Owen was sentenced to jail time. And I don't remember exactly how much. It was like 18 months or something. But he was sentenced to jail time in relation to the January 6th protests. Let's be clear. There's video evidence in the Owen Schroyer case. He was near the Capitol, never entered. He never went in. Right? There are people in jail right now who were not even in D.C. And I'm not just talking about, what's his name, Tario, who is a Proud Boy that made some statements that the government dislikes and Democrats dislike. Enrique Tario is the half black, half Hispanic white supremacist that was in charge of the Proud Boys or one of the chapters, but he wasn't even in D.C. and is serving time in relation to the January 6th riots, the January 6th protests, right? So, while all that's true and going on, let's come back to this. 2 of the 3 suspects accused of setting fire to a Wendy's in Atlanta, Georgia, during an infamous Black Lives Matter riot in 2020 have accepted plea deals, according to Fox 5. Chisom, Kingston, and Natalie White were both charged with conspiracy to commit arson in the first degree and 2 counts of first-degree arson. The pair pleaded guilty to their crimes in a plea deal, according to court records. Kingston and White have both been sentenced to 5 years probation and ordered to pay a $500 fine and must complete 150 hours of community service. Their trial is set for next week, and it's unclear how the plea deals will impact the outcome. So, it's not a done deal yet. The trials are set for next week. They could, the judge could reject the plea deal, and I hope he does. But, well, it says that the judge has already granted the plea deal. The plea deal could still be defeated in trial, but pennies to pesos it won't be. And I want to remind you what this riot was over. They burned down the Wendy's over the Rayshard Brooks incident. Okay? They burned down the Wendy's. And this was one of those incidents that reminds us that all your martyrs are monsters, right? I've said it before and I'll say it again, all your martyrs are monsters. I'm going to play y'all a video that I released right after it happened. This was entitled The Ballad of Rayshard Brooks, and this is what happened. This covers it. Innocent black man murdered by police for no reason is the headline. Was the headline. This is the footage that the media is showing you. Back it up. What happened? Wait a minute. What actually happened that night? Like, there's no doubt of what happened. We have the video on it. There's the taser. The cop has the taser. Rayshard grabs the taser. Now, let's not forget that Howard the Coward, the DA in Atlanta at the time, had just recently convicted some officers in a death case where a taser was used and the person stricken with the taser died. No, I'm sorry. No. The cop had a taser. The DA determined that the taser counted as a deadly weapon. And then he argued the opposite in this case. There he goes. He fires a weapon. Intoxicated criminal firing a weapon at a police officer. That's pretty cut and dry right there. That's an intoxicated criminal fired a weapon that he stole from a police officer. Right. Just the fact that he stole the weapon is a crime. Right? At a minimum, you're talking about the illicit acquisition of private property, and fuck you for that. So you hear that in this country we have a 2-tier justice system. That's not entirely accurate. It's a little more complex than that. There are multiple categories. They include, but are not limited to, there is the highest tier, which is the wealthy, politically connected class, to which Donald Trump does not belong. He's he meets all the criteria, but they just won't let him in the club. Then there's the rest of us, the average work-a-day, make-a-buck, tax-paying American voter. Now, we are guilty of crimes, whether we've taken actions or not, when it's politically convenient. Make no mistake, you are never guilty of a crime in the modern American justice system unless it is politically convenient for you to have been convicted of a crime. And then you have the weaponized activist, the compensated anarchist, right? So these compensated anarchists, we know that many of these BLM activists are being paid to conduct activism activities. In the case of this Wendy's, like in many other places, there was an autonomous zone established around the location of the riot in conjunction with that activity. Now, unlike other autonomous zones like the Save the Forest people in the Atlanta Cop City project, this one was dismantled quickly. But make no mistake, the Save the Forest, Stop Cop City autonomous zone outside of Atlanta is still in place right now and has been in place for it's almost 4 years now, right? With no significant intervention. Our government is failing us on purpose, right? When we keep seeing things like this, go back to the two lawyers in New York that threw Molotov cocktails into a police car and were let off with a slap on the wrist. It's quite clear. The Department of Justice and the U.S. government are in cahoots. They're actively working with these radical domestic terrorists in an attempt to silence and harm constitutional institutions. Donald Trump has famously said, they're not coming after me, they're coming after you. I'm just in the way. The fact is, they are not interested in hurting conservatives or hurting Donald Trump or hurting the Republican Party or the GOP or the cause of constitutionality. They are interested in abolishing the Constitution and dismantling the United States of America. This is not, I say again, this is not the last bastion of liberty. This is the first footfall of freedom. The beachhead of justice and individual responsibility. There is nothing more abhorrent to the Chinese Communist Party, the socialists across the globe, the World Economic Forum, the UN, and NATO. There is nothing more abhorrent than liberty and individual responsibility. And that is why protesters like these are being backed and supported by foreign governments and foreign nationals. We covered a few months ago some indictments from the Stop Cop City people who shot a bunch of cops. And in those indictments, we discovered that a large number of the individuals who were indicted and involved with the Stop Cop City protests were representatives from the Southern Poverty Law Center or foreign nationals from all over the world, right? There were French foreign nationals, there were some from various South American countries and a few North African countries. There's a war being fought in our country, and our Department of Justice is actively on the side of the invading enemy. And that's, so I'm going to go ahead and put a pin in it there. I know we started a little bit late because of the technical issue early on, but it's also time for me to get out the door and take a little girl to Fernbank to, I'm not sure if she wants to do the dinosaurs or the space stuff. We're going to find out. Okay, I'll hold on just a minute. Slushy97 says, I don't really do politics, but let me spit out a quick idea. Spit it out quick, brother, because I'm about to hit the road. What would happen if all countries unified and we just let natural selection take its course? That's okay. I'll hang out for a minute and I'll try to answer that for you. Survival of the fittest doesn't fall into that concept. When you say if all countries unified, the only way you get to go to a pure natural selection activity is by actually abolishing all governments. And I'm gonna come back to that in just a second. The idea of countries unifying is antithetical and anathema to the activity of survival of the fittest. Where we as the human species are differentiated dramatically from other animals is in our use of social organization to overcome the shortfalls of those who do not get selected through the activities of survival of the fittest. Other animals do this to a point. Wolf packs are a good example, but you'll find that even in wolf packs, the survival of the fittest remains despite the cooperation of the collective in an attempt to overcome the shortcomings of the individual. They will self-select and remove by killing or simply exiling the weakest members of the pack that are weakened through age or infirmity, right? You protect the children, you expel the elderly. And that's a function of that. Something like that does occur in a all countries unified one world government situation. You can take a look at the situation in New York City or in China where special measures were taken by government officials to guarantee the exacerbation and extreme death tolls that we saw among the elderly when COVID became a problem in 2020. The way we saw it happen in New York City, where they literally sent young, sick people into retirement homes in what can only reasonably be analyzed as an intentional murder of those elderly. That was an attempt by a government that is suffering under the weight of a too expensive retirement and social welfare program to excise some of the costlier pieces of that society. Now, back to the survival of the fittest in the case that you have the opposite take, where you abolish all government and go to a total global anarchy. Anarchy is a romantic concept, but it cannot operate in reality. The immediate result in the case of an actual anarchy, if we were somehow to just right now flip a switch and abolish all governments, we would immediately become a global tribalistic system or a global feudalist system, because you would have it would start with families and friends. People would would move together. They would enter into small communities, which I have a lot of love for. I think this could be beneficial. But essentially, what you would have is tribes and clans build up, and before long, either those clans would start to come together into larger and larger communities, and therewith larger and larger government administrative equivalencies to organize the logistics of trade between the individuals that are members of the clan. And then you see the clan starts reaching out and making deals with other clans. Hey, we're the pot clan and we're the sheep clan. We'll trade you wool for hemp rope and mutton for buds, et cetera, et cetera. So a global dehegemonization into actual anarchy becomes a functional feudalism, instantaneously and inevitably. So your concept, the only way that your statement as originally posed works is if all world governments cooperate with one another to abolish one another, which is also just not a practicable or even logically explorable opportunity. So I hope that helps. I hope you've enjoyed me with your high as a kitedness, and I do indeed hope, my friend, that you have the correct snacks available. Thanks for watching this morning. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.